All right, Debbie, we can start.
Okay. Terrific. Welcome everybody to our competition meeting for August. Our judge tonight is John Stritzinger. John is a fine art photographer. He lives in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, and actively participates in the Philadelphia area's photographic community. His work spans diverse subjects, and he has won awards while being exhibited in group shows in more than 30 galleries and museums. John's work has been published in Black and White magazine and in the Lens Work books. So welcome, John.
Welcome.
Matt, I don't have or Linda, I don't have the competition description in front of me. If one of you can read it.
Hang on.
We will find it here. 1 second.
Okay, and I'm going to put myself back on mute.
Oh, you're quicker than I am.
August.
Sunset or sunrise photography can be taken before sunrise or after sunset when the color in the sky is magnificent. Your image can be taken as the sun is ascending or descending, as long as there are colors in the sky like yellow, orange, and reds.
Excellent. We have some images here from John. Take a look here. Like this. Helps if it comes on the right screen. John, you want to tell us about your images?
Oh, sure. Just briefly, I was in Scotland in 2019. This is at the Cranbury, which is a famous location at sunrise, and it was really beautiful there.
I'm going to go back to your first one here, and then we'll go back through.
This is in Hollywood. So this is taken above Los Angeles, and you can see the Hollywood sign in one direction and LA in the other, and it was a Hollywood sky that day. This was taken on one of the Finger Lakes called Skinny Atlas. It's a long exposure, probably about 2 minutes long, with the boats moving around, and it was very dark at the time, but the light came up from the long exposure. This was also taken in Los Angeles. It is smoggy and orange when the sun is low in the sky there. It's quite a sight. This was taken down in Cape May. My wife and I like to go down there at least sometime during the summer, and it was early in the morning, just before sunrise.
All right, very nice.
Okay.
Matt, are you on mic?
I am.
Okay.
Just not close enough to it, I guess. All right. We have our first group, which is going to be our beginners. It's group 1. There's 6 images. I will go through them real quick. All right, we need a first, second, and third.
Okay.
There we go.
Morning Bliss, St. John, Virgin Islands.
It's definitely got color in the sky. I'm seeing the population of the hillside here really gives you a sense that you're up very high looking over a very long expanse. It's very good color. I think it's maybe slightly soft in the clouds, but it's got a good exposure and nicely handled in terms of the sun, which is always tough. Very nice. I'm going to say this is an 8.
Another day comes to an end.
This photographer went for the very vivid, highly saturated look of the sky and the colors, really bringing the colors up even more with the silhouettes of the trees. When you might ask yourself, on the edges of the frame, there's a tree that's pretty close to the left edge, and there's a branch coming in from the right. Do you like those aspects of it? You might want to think about whether those are things that improved your image or not. But it's nicely captured, and the colors are lovely. This is a 7.
Double rainbow.
It's gorgeous, and there's something about having the rainbow over top of the McDonald's double arches that kind of reinforces that. It looks like it was something you'd see and maybe you had to photograph it really quickly through your car window because you didn't have an opportunity to stop and like pull out the tripod in the middle of the street. But a nice capture, really trying to get in, the intention of it, and you did a nice job picking that out. It's very hard to get it exactly the way you want when you're having to photograph maybe on the run like this. This is a 7.
Sunset at Sandy Hook.
Yeah, this is just a wonderful, lovely, well-composed image. That's nice to see. Starting the diagonal from the lower left takes us up to the person sitting there on the right, and it's that feeling we all have of looking at the sunrise or sunset. The sun is almost center, but not quite. Exposure is handled very well. There's a wonderful little bird that's just to the left of the sun. So the 3 main subjects of the sun, the woman on the beach, and the bird nicely relate. It's quite a bit of sky at the top. You might consider, how that works, but it's very nice. This is an 8.
Quiet Time, Navarre Beach, Florida.
This is it's one of those nice captures where you're catching the sun while it's, still pretty good. Hasn't quite caught the bottom of the clouds for that extra burst of color, which maybe it wouldn't have as it's settled down. There's something about the horizon that seems like it's kind of tilting a little down. I don't think that's an optical illusion. And the posts are just slightly poking up above it, which kind of disturbs the composition a little bit. And, by just straightening out the horizon, that might improve the image a little bit. And no one in the chair. Be nice if maybe someone was sitting there, but it's a lovely image. This is a 7.
Study in Color.
So here there's, that little gap in the clouds provides the taste of blue. And as far as the color in the sky theme, there's just enough color in the lower left corner and in the middle to kind of offset that. A lot of the interest in the image is up there in the clouds above the color. So it's more of a study, maybe a sort of the shapes and textures in the clouds. There's a bright spot in the lower left corner that you might consider, did you really want to leave that in, or did you maybe want to do something about it in post-processing? And there's a slight tilt to things that maybe, you could create if you chose to in post-processing. This is a 7.
All right, we've got 2 8s. I need a first and a second out of those. I will show you the thumbnails. This is one image, and this is the other image.
You'll see the first one more time. I'm just going to take a closer look at that one. I just wanted to zoom in a little bit to see. Okay. They're both lovely images. I'm going to say this image with the woman is the first image because I think it has a little more of a story to tell, and everything's very crisp and sharp and nicely captured and excellent exposure. Second place would be the one just to the left. This one, wonderful color. It just sets the mood of I'm in somewhere in a landscape far from home, and just as it said in the title, and it's also a very nice capture.
Excellent. And we have 4 7s. I need one of them for the third.
Okay.
So this is image number 1, image number 2, number 3, and the 4th one.
Yeah, they're all so very, very different. I'm going to go with the last image with the clouds. I think that someone saw that occurring and happening and did their best to try to create a composition from that. So nicely done.
So this one, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, I'll be more precise next time.
All right, we're going to review this contest. As soon as I move enough windows out of my way.
Third place, Study in Color, Susan Freeman. Congratulations, Susan. Second place, Morning Bliss, St. John, Virgin Islands, Zena Motley Weaver. Congratulations, Zena.
Very nice. All right, we're going to move on to our group 2. We have 8 images in this group. So we need a first, second, third, 1 HM. I'll go through them real quick.
Right.
All right, and here we go.
Okay.
Cranes at Sunset.
This image is a really nice storytelling image. It not only documents the scene here, but it also has a sense of place and captures the dark sky. Just illuminating the clouds above is just lovely. I like the arrangement and composition of the cranes, a little bit like notes on a music scale perhaps, and there's just enough of a little reflection that's been captured in the foreground to give a sense of depth from foreground to background. So very, very nice image. This is an 8.
Sky blue pink sundown from my backyard.
This is an interesting image in that, it has the look of almost like maybe an older, like a Holga camera or something, it's not in focus. It's wonderful pink against the blue, 2 really wonderful colors, an interesting shape, sort of a triangular shape there in the middle that makes one kind of dig into the abstract to see what it is. And there's a little bit of interesting vignette at the left and right, probably from the camera, maybe from the lens itself. This is a 7.
Sunrise at St. Peter's, 7/29/23, 6:09 a.m.
Just a wonderful, it's almost sort of a, the monotone colors of the yellows and oranges and sort of brownish colors. And what I think is, strong and striking about it is the wonderful silhouette of all the different items. And then we have that little piece, I think that must be the St. Peter's Tower, perhaps to the far right. And then there's that stack right to the left of the sun, and maybe a little bit of lens flare in the middle. I think having that subject all the way to the right makes it a little harder to identify just what the subject was, because it seems like it should be the tower to the right, but it's also like the stack in the middle along with those bright sun, just a little overexposed. But I love the tone and the feel, and the composition is quite nice. This is a 7.
Sunset over North Carolina.
Well, what an interesting place. It looks like maybe a naval or Coast Guard station with an interesting ship or shipbuilding, or maybe just parked yachts. It's so bright behind there, probably overexposed, I believe, that it almost seems like there's an explosion happening behind this, and a very strong reflection that's a little overexposed in the water. But I think it captures the place that you're seeing quite nicely, and interesting colors with that sort of tawny color above and around the yellow stripe. This is a 7.
We actually have to DQ it because of the watermark.
There's a watermark. Yeah, I was just about to say you probably shouldn't watermark your image, but so.
Yep, it's DQ.
Atlantic City Dawn.
Yeah, this is another lovely storytelling kind of image. I think maybe the reason you were taking it is that incredible bit of rays of sun suddenly came through the clouds there like a sweeping searchlight out in the distance. And then having the two people amid the reeds that are waving in front of the little spit of land that comes out there just kind of gives a sense of scale and plays with one's idea about how big those are far away as far as the reeds that are closer. Nicely silhouetted, really well done exposure. It's beautiful. This is an 8.
Pacific rainbow.
This is one gorgeous rainbow slashing down into the water, and it's a very, the simplicity of it, a very simple image in that there's simply the rainbow and water at the bottom, perfectly lined up, little bits of purple. So I think the controlling of the exposure here and nicely composed and placed elements gives it the nice minimalistic feel and is a lovely image. This is an 8.
Sunset, Somerset, New Jersey.
This image, similar to the pink and blue one we saw earlier, has very vivid colors. In this case, it's sort of an upside down triangle shape in the center. So it's a little bit of an abstracted piece, although this one includes the tree line. I think that everything's a bit soft, is kind of dreamlike, and an interesting way to do that. There is a bit of overexposure in the highlights. I think if you're going for that sort of dreamlike quality and feel here, you might consider darkening the edges a little bit more to try to pull that in, and then consider how far on the left and the right you really want to extend the image. This is a 7.
Sunset Cruise.
I think this is a really great documenting image. It's documenting the scene and the place, the sense of what it's like to be out on the water as the sun is coming down, I believe, and people are enjoying themselves and just having a wonderful time outdoors. Almost half of the bottom is sort of this white section that's at the bottom, and most of the interest is the arm reaching across the people and the sun in the background. So maybe just by focusing in a little closer on just the interactions of the people and the sail and the light might enhance the image's impact. This is a 7.
All right, we've got 3 8s. So I need a first, second, third.
Okay.
This is image 1. Image 2. And the third image.
Okay, can I see image 1 again? Thank you. Okay. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say image 1 is first, image 2 is second, and image 3 is third. All
First, second, and third. All right, and we have 4 7s. I need 1 for HM. So this is image 1, image 2, image 3, and the fourth.
All with wonderful color and all have a nice feel to them. I'm going to go image 2 for the honorable mention. This one.
All right. We'll review this contest.
Honorable mention. Sunrise St. Peter's, Pat Kurzel.
I like how specific she is with the time.
6:09 a.m.
Third place, Pacific Rainbow, Walter Blitz. Congratulations, Walter. Second place, Atlantic City Dawn, Richard Polk. Congratulations, Richard.
All right, we're gonna move on to our third group. We have 22 images. So we need a first, second, third, and 4 HMs. I'll go through them real quick. All right, here we go.
Pastel light.
I think that's the quality that I would use for the sky. A wonderful pastel color, very nicely titled. It's such a calm image with all of the horizontal lines, and the birds are arranged very nicely in the image, either captured that way or placed there. They're still just lovely. I think here there's a question about, where the details are. I think the lighthouse is sort of stands out, but then there's this other structure plus the 3 little structures. So you might ask yourself, where would you like the focus to be, and how would you like us to take a look at that? But overall, it's just such a wonderful color and nice and sharp that this is an 8. Thank you.
Scotland colors.
Very vivid, I think very strongly saturated color here. So that's been brought up very strongly. I'm just going to zoom in for a second to get a closer look here. Yeah, I think, this is, adds a little bit of fantasy to the Scottish landscape, which could look like this, but is maybe a little oversaturated. It's, more of a panorama format, close to 1:2 or 16:9. And with the stretch out, I think I want to focus on that orange cloud in the background, but there's also this peak on the right that competes with it a little bit. But you captured beautiful reflections, beautiful sky. It's lovely. This is a 7.
Sunrise at Oxbow Bend in the Tetons.
Beautiful. Certainly the Tetons is an incredible location. One of the things here, it's a lovely image, great color, nicely framed mountains, is that with the extra, space on each side with the dark brown, my eye tends to go a little bit to each side, and the mountain seems very far away. So you might consider, whether if you were a little bit closer in terms of the subject, either through, focusing or cropping, whether you might bring the feel of the mountains forward and still have all of their reflection in the water if you wanted to do that. It's a lovely image. This is a 7.
Early morning sunrise.
Lots of wonderful yellow and orange here in the colors, even getting maybe into the sort of, turning the water from less blue to more gold. And here, the capture of getting the bird in there gives us another element to go against the sun. I think it's very straightforward image, and it's the kind of image that we all hope the bird flies into our photo, and you may have waited for him and gotten it at just the right time, in which case, congratulations on such a great capture. It's nicely done. This is a 7.
Master of all he surveys.
It certainly has that quality where he's decided to turn everything purple. I think maybe it was that purple, maybe not. It's a very strong purple, and there's a little bit of a halo around the heads, so maybe a little over processed perhaps, but it does have, again, that sort of fantasy feel, which maybe is when one is the master of all one surveys, maybe that's a little piece of fantasy too, and part of the message and story in this image. Compositionally, it's nice that he's sort of looking in the direction of the cloud that just doesn't quite get outside the frame on the right. So it's nicely done. It's a 7.
Misty sunrise.
Here, the sort of the softness of the light and how the sun has caught, the mists and the clouds gives it very subdued feel. You know, you're not quite sure where you are. It could be in quite a few different places at a first glance, and it's very soft and nice in that respect. I believe that the foreground is sharp-ish, although it's maybe a little bit soft, so maybe you had to crop in a little to get to this composition. It's a nice juxtaposition of the two buildings on the left and the light on the right. Nicely handled. This is a 7.
Heading home in awe.
That's the thing when we're out and we're heading home and we see these incredible clouds and colors. It's magnificent to see that. Perhaps you had to photograph it maybe you know, with not the ideal phone or lens that you would hope to. The blues here are quite intense, and again, the color is a little, you know, saturated, maybe a little beyond. And it's pretty straightforward. You know, you just simply have the, at the bottom, there's the trees making a nice silhouette line, but it does make a nice little Z-shaped diagonal with the clouds. So that was nicely handled, but I think it's just a little soft, and you might consider how to sharpen it up at some point. This is a 7.
The boardwalk.
I think here, you know, the first thing that, you know, strikes me when I look at it, besides the color in the sky, is that big round cloud that's up in the upper left corner, and then the circles of the white lights that form the lights along the boardwalk. The piece at the top left is sort of balanced by the greenish roof at the far right, but it feels like I'm being pulled up magnetically up into that left corner a bit, even though the composition seems to be more about the pier. So those are some things to think about. I like all the colors you got in there, and if there's a little bit of lens flare, I really like that. It looks terrific. This is a 7.
Sunrise over the marsh.
So this is a very, I'm going to say sort of a classic look, you know, a nicely, very closely centered, almost centered sun that looks almost like it could be Jupiter or some foreign body. And you can just sort of make out the edges of like a horizon and the things that are there. I think it's a great addition to have the soft out of focus bits in the foreground, which from the title we know is now from the marsh. It's just such a wonderful classic image. Very, you know, you look right at that sun, you don't look away. It's not overexposed. Very well done. This is an 8.
Serene sunset.
This is very serene. It looks like something, those might be house roofs there. I'm not sure that I'm seeing. You might have just seen it and been sitting out, and it's a beautiful and calm image with the horizontal clouds, you know, crisscrossing with the trees. Something to think about is it might be a little underexposed. Maybe you could bring up the light and the color a little bit more. The silhouettes are nice, and this isn't a thing where, you know, the tree in the middle seems like the most interesting sort of diagonal, because most of the other trees are fairly straight. So you might want to emphasize that and decide how you could draw our eye to the part of the image you're looking for us to look at the most. This is a 7.
Standing guard.
A very dramatic look at a whatever the statue is. At a glance, I can't tell what war or whatever to tell for sure. It could even be, I'm going to assume it was the real sky, but this could be an instance of a sky dropped in. If so, you did it, I think, pretty well. There's a little bit of just light around the edges of the figure that's nicely handled there. I think it's got the drama of that, and it's a nicely composed, maybe a little too centered in this case. This is a 7.
Out in the marsh.
Very nice leading line taking us, you know, back along that road all the way to the sun, and caught with a little bit of backlit foliage in the very front, which is nice. Everything's sort of whipping away to the left where everything's going over there, but then there's these nice sky lines that take us back a little to the right. So it's nicely balanced, and having that bird at the very end just adds a little extra piece. I just wanted to take a look at one thing here. And it was maybe a little breezy, so things are moving around a little, but that just seems to add a little charm as to how it might have felt on that day. So this is an 8.
Ice Lagoon sunrise.
Very vivid colors. You don't often see a green color in the sky as often. This sort of yellow-green color, and the the wonderful stripe and line that's coming in at a sharp angle. I like the reflection in the foreground, and I think there's enough detail in the foreground. It's not bad. It's maybe a little bit, it's because of the brightness of the sky, maybe you could bring up the foreground a little more and show some more of the reflection things along the ice and whatever the other white spots are, which could just be other places of the light. It certainly is a striking color. I'm going to say a 7 on this.
Sunset at Tipso Lake, Mount Rainier.
It looks like an iconic location and an iconic place to photograph this. It feels like the mountain is pretty far away, and one of the subject almost seems like it could be this small pond or lake, even though the reflection of the mountain isn't in it. So I think there's a little bit of question here about, what was the subject that you found the most interesting besides the color in the mountain. So it could be just coming up and in a little closer would emphasize those things. I like the line of the trees from the right kind of sweeps us down, and you might want to just and I like the rhythm of the trees in the foreground too. This is a 7.
Florida sunrise.
It's a nice, almost sort of storytelling kind of picture with a little bit of sort of documenting that this is how it looks from wherever you're standing. There's someone sitting on the bench there, perhaps another photographer with a tripod. I think some of the things here that you could consider is when things overlap, such as the palm tree and the boat that's sort of 1/3 in from the right, or the palm tree is just touching the back of the boat, or the light is just touching the front of the boat. These little things kind of detract a little bit from emphasizing each of the individual elements, and is something maybe to consider next time you have an opportunity to take a photo from here. This is a 7.
Red sky at night, sailor's delight.
Yeah, beautiful red, and a nice compositional by positioning the sun all the way to the right, and we see its effect as it kind of drifts up through the clouds. It's very, very red, so maybe it looked just like that. So we're going to go with that it did. It's a bit overexposed where the sun is, and the part that I'm looking at besides the sun in the lower right corner is sort of the empty area in the middle with just the one little cloud. So other than the shapes of the clouds, which we could turn into different elements, it doesn't quite have the full impact, I think, of an image that would pull up maybe a little bit more of the shadows in the clouds. This is a 7.
Winter's dawn.
Again, such an interesting choice here in colors. I'm not sure if it's very sort of blue-green in the middle there is simply because you needed to bring up the a darker shadowed area there, but the color seems a little off perhaps in the middle part of the image. Wonderful ridge in the foreground and beautiful color up in the sky. I think you have definitely 3 distinct bands. The top half of the image is the clouds. The middle third is the sort of bluish green, and the bottom is the hillside. And so there is definitely a foreground, middle ground, and background, which you've done nicely. This is a 7.
Orange haze.
So here, a nice panoramic treatment of Boathouse Row in Philadelphia. really emphasized the blue in the water against the sort of complementary colors of the sort of orange yellows of the traffic there along the Schuylkill, and very soft light in the sky, and it's nicely divided. I think having about half and half here seems to work quite well. And you got it at a time when the boathouse row was trimmed very well, and it's got pretty good sharpness. And I think it's one of those shots that once you see it, you know where it is, and you don't see as many panoramic images here. Generally, you see more right on the boathouse. So I think that's a nice original way to take a look at it. This is an 8.
Sandy Hook sunset.
It is a beautiful sunset. I think, trying to get the sun that direct and not any lower without overexposing it and leaving everything else dark is very difficult. So you did your best there to do that. I think it's hard to get the colors just the way you might have seen them perhaps on the water as well as in the sky, and a very centered sun here with a few of those stars going, and you can almost make a face out of the curved clouds on each side of the centered sun, which is a nice effect. So very vivid color, and I'm sure it was a memorable sunset. This is a 7.
Sunset in the Pinelands.
This captures sort of the quietness of the Pinelands very, very nicely. There's just that little bit where the sun has already gone down, but it's still providing such an impact into the yellow above. So there's these striations of the blue in the foreground, the black, the little bit of pink, another bit of purple, the yellow, and then purple at the top. So it's a nice little layer caked up of an image here. I feel like I want to look at the yellow most of all, even though I'm really interested in the bottom. So it has a slight feel of maybe the curtain is falling. I'm about to reveal something. Very interesting image. This is a 7.
Sunset from St. Mathis.
Here, the clouds almost seem like, to my eye, like a hand reaching up into the sky, which is a nice sort of anthropomorphic look at the colors in the clouds. I think in your post-processing, maybe down in you can see in the trees, there's some white spaces here and there and whites around the edges. So maybe when you were processing with the, trying to, give the sky its full due, maybe didn't quite get the masking as sharp, as good as you wanted. It's a nice silhouette, and the shape of the clouds is particularly lovely here. So this is a 7.
Appalachian Mountain sunrise.
This is a very nice symmetrical image, and here by using sort of the subtle framing of the V of the hillsides that are closest to us and positioning the sun near there, as you've gotten in a very good position that helps us to enjoy seeing the sun and not look too much elsewhere. There's also some subtleness in the hillsides and the way that you've been able to show us the distance and the sort of epic view that you have all the way out to the horizon, and a very nicely handled exposure. It's lovely. This is an 8.
All right, we've got 5 8s. So we need a first, second, third from there.
Okay.
This is image 1. Image 2. Image 3. Image 4. And image 5.
Okay. You're looking for a first, second, third here. Is that correct, Matt?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go with this image as a first. And
This one here.
one
Okay.
here, image 1 is first place. I'm gonna go with this boathouse row image for image 2. The blue is a little unusual, but it's nice to see a panorama. It's a little different treatment, and that's giving second place there. And the third place is image number 2. I think it's just a it's a very well done composition with attention paid to the the vignetting, the highlighting, and trying to keep our eye going where you'd like it to go. So that's nicely done.
This one, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So this is an HM. This is an HM. I need 2 more HMs
Okay.
out of this group
All righty.
of 17.
Okay.
So we'll go through them real quick.
Okay. Let's take a look.
It's 3,
Mm-hmm.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and the last one.
Okay, and you're looking for 2 honorable mentions from here. Can you just go back to the beginning? Just, I'm not going to have you go through them again. If you would just go back so I can see the thumbnails for the first 7 or 8 that are in there like that. Let's take a look here. So, okay. If you just go a little farther to the right, I'm going to give an honorable mention to the soldier here. I think
Okay.
the use of the light blue to the right just gives it a very nice look. That was very nicely done. And I think if we go back to the beginning again, sorry for having so many here to have to go through one more time. You can just stop for a second here.
Yep. I can go to anyone you want to look at. So just let me know.
The one that is 1, 2, 3, 4, number 5, which is a sort of a softer image, but just has a nice quality and feel, and that sort of little bit of house or things that are sticking out on the butte, kind of, just before the rain comes across, I think is just a nice soft touch. It's a little different, and it's not the more standard sunset shot. So another honorable mention here for this image as well.
This one here. Okay. Perfect.
A lot of great images. So as always, it's always hard. And
All right, we'll review this contest. And then after this, we'll take a quick 5-minute break here at the library.
Honorable mention. Misty Sunrise, Wendy Sisson. Congratulations, Wendy. Standing Guard, Rose Scudari, honorable mention. Congratulations. Out in the Marsh, Matt Rink. Honorable mention. Appalachian Mountain Sunrise, Rose Scudari. Congratulations, Rose. Third place. Sunrise over the Marsh, Melinda Matlack. Second place. Orange Haze, Valerie Williams. Congratulations, Valerie.
All right, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break here, and then we'll resume with the last group.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
All right, we're in the salon group here. We have 18 images. So we need a
Okay.
first, second, third, 4 HMs.
Okay.
I will go through them really quick. Oh, that's our library. All right, here we go.
Sunset over the Delaware.
Here, I think it's the framing with the branches on each side and sort of there's two interesting things here in terms of textures. One is in the clouds and the other one is the ripples on the water, and the two things reflect back against each other and look very, very lovely in doing that. There's a nice overarching pink cloud that kind of keeps us from going out of the top of the frame, and it's nicely composed. This is an 8.
Sunset over Lake Ontario.
So when I saw this go by, I thought that, the colors are a little peculiar, but quite an interesting structure with these little peaks sticking up like little fingers out of the sand and these brilliant green. It almost has the feel of, I used to have an HO set of some sort when I was a boy, and it reminds me of those sort of the fake green there. So sorry to say it's fake green, but it's a lovely, lovely striations in the sky as well. So really enjoy seeing the shape of that wonderful bit of sand right in the middle. This is a 7.
Sunrise.
So here it has such a, sort of the classic look of just a straight silhouette of the mountains. So it's all about the shape of those mountains and the line that's there, just enough water to let us then look up into the sky. It's a little heavy on the left because that's where all the color has gone and there's not quite as much to balance it on the right, but the exposure is handled very nicely. Maybe a touch of vignette might help to bring it in a little bit, or darkening from the right. It's a lovely image. This is a 7.
Familiar looking place.
Familiar looking place, and there you are right inside looking out the window, right? So this is the new library, I guess, huh? So it is a wonderful documentary image of capturing that. You got a nice, nicely handling the verticals on the building itself and getting down fairly low, getting wonderful sky and color in the sky from that day. I think all those things work really well. It's hard to deal with a light pole when you're trying to get the side of the building in that nice, 3D long, perspective as well. You handled it all very nicely. This is a 7.
Aruba sailing.
And this is one where, some highlights are blown out, in terms of the exposure, but you've done a nice job of darkening around it. And I think one of the highlights, no pun intended here, of the image is the backlighting against the sail. The color in the sky is wonderful on each side of that sort of, horizon that is white. And so all those things are really nice. It's a lovely catamaran somewhere beautiful, having a wonderful sail. Very, very nicely done. This is a 7.
Within reach.
Quite an interesting composition with showing, just this little bit of the pier or structure that people are walking out along. It's just above the water, a little bit of water hiding underneath, that gives us a little element of blue that is sort of mirrored by a little blue at the top. Interesting shape in the clouds. And then, of course, the light, that wonderful yellow light that's coming in the background. So it's a nice juxtaposition of the people and their views, sort of the majesty and magnificence of an enormous clouds setting out there. We're so low, though, we can't quite see beyond the bridge to get the full sense of the horizon, but it's a lovely image. This is a 7.
AC before sunrise.
This is just beautiful. I don't know if this was taken from Brigantine. I don't own a house down there or anything, but wherever it was taken from, it's just a nice, soft, one of those looks where, there's images people have taken of more foreign places than Atlantic City, and this has that feel where it's somewhere you're not quite sure where, very futuristic. I like the fact that you've split the frame almost immediately in half to kind of get both the reflection, which is very well done with the still of the water. And the color in the sky is very nice, soft, has a storybook quality. I expect to see a title across the top of whatever this would be. Very nicely done. This is an 8.
Hawaiian sunset.
Oh, yes, I'm sure we've all followed the news about Maui. So if this was taken on Maui at Lahaina, that's not good. Here, it's beautiful. I think the things that are most interest to me is not only the 3 palm trees in the center that are sort of provide a bit of a look. There's a little pine tree at the left, and then the 2 people and another person on the right. And I think those are all nice little surprises that keep my eye moving through the image. The color in the background in the sky is just wonderful. And then there's that little curve of palm tree from the right, which is very nice. So it's stretched out kind of panorama-like, that curve at the right touching at the top. I'm not quite sure that's quite, you might be able to have a little more room. But it's, I think all those small elements of the people and the palm trees really elevate it a little bit. This is an 8.
Husafal rainbow.
I think here it's, seeing the rainbow in that very, very dark sky. I think the most interesting thing besides the rainbow is 2 things. One is that deep, dark little cone in the far background, which maybe is Husafell. I'm not sure. Maybe that's an Icelandic term because it looks like it could be that. I'm not sure. And the wonderful red roofs on the buildings, all of which looks kind of gives it a great sense of place and character, along with the fence that's there. And I'm going to put this back. Sorry, I was just zooming in so I could get a little closer look. Yeah, it's a really, really lovely image. I like the little diagonals coming up from the left and then going back to the right, to the left, and back up through the rainbow. I'm going to give this an 8.
Sunrise over Dingle.
This is one where, it has that feel of, let's go for almost otherworldly, highly saturated greens and reds and blues and the yellow golden in the water. So it is definitely has that sort of science fiction fantasy look, but it's a nicely composed image. It looks like it's got lots of sharpness in the foreground, and it takes us all the way back to the lovely mist and then all the way to the far back. Makes it quite interesting. It's very nice. I'm going to give this an 8.
Presque Isle sunset.
Here, really strong colors and a very well controlled exposure. There's nothing blown out in this exposure. Very, to sharp enough, fast enough shutter speed to, I think, give texture in the water. There's just a little bit of an element to the right of sort of a boat or a pier that's giving us a sense of place. And it does help balance the fact that it's very strong and heavy on the left with all the pink clouds zooming up into the left, but a wonderful diagonal, good colors. This is an 8.
Sunset.
So here there's, the clouds have an almost universal sort of grayish blue, except for a little bit of lightness way up in the upper right corner, which I think is a nice little piece, but it's kind of up there in the corner, kind of catching my eye a bit. Again, very well handled exposure, not overexposed. There's a nice diagonal starting from the left. I think the horizon is straight, but it's always tricky when there's these little diagonal bits of cloud nearby with the optical illusion that maybe it isn't, but it is nicely done. It's very straightforward and lovely sunset image or sunrise image. This is a 7.
Sentinels in the reservoir.
Really like the perspective and the point of view here, getting down, very close to the water and then correcting the perspective to make sure that all of your lines are nice and straight up. It's a wonderful color that's really focusing us right into the center of the image where all of the visuals, I think, are strongest with those contrast of the lines against the sky and the water. You've captured the reflections and divided it nicely in the middle, which works very well with the reflected item like this. It's a lovely image. This is an 8.
I had to stop to capture this scene.
Yeah, it's I could see why. It is certainly, the lovely color in the background and framing it. I'm sort of looking into the mirror to see what it's looking back at along the roadside there. You haven't, clipped the top of the window at the upper right corner and kept that in. It's quite interesting. At first, when I first saw it go by, I was thinking that maybe it was an old rusty truck, but I'm glad you're driving a nice, more modern car. By keeping the lightness in the window and darkening the other areas, you've really kept our attention right in the middle. So it's quite nicely framed and nicely composed. This is an 8.
Peaceful and colorful.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. There's when I went by the first time, I noticed, it appears to be a long exposure, I think, to get all the wonderful, cloud movement that's in there. The horizon seems to be not exactly straight, and there's a really interesting pink light and sort of magenta light leak on the far right, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure what it's there for exactly, but it's interesting. I love the structure and the composition. So I think, just by straightening the horizon a little bit and maybe removing that magenta item on the right, which I don't think is adding anything extra, you would maybe make it just a tad better, but a lovely image. This is a 7.
Over the clouds.
I almost feel like I should pick one with birds in it because I've seen a lot of images here with birds. What makes this one distinctive is that it is only the bird, pretty much, and the clouds. So you're made very abstract here, even though it is a bird. It's a wonderful shape of the wing. I think it's kind of sharp-ish. You probably had to crop in quite a ways to get there, and it's always hard to keep, sharpness on the wings, especially white in there. So it's beautiful. There is not really technically a whole lot of yellow orange, a little spot in that lower cloud near the bottom, which I think qualifies it. So I like, it's a wonderful curve. I think that's probably, I'm guessing, what you love best about it, and I do too. This is a 7.
Early morning by the lake.
And this is one of those images that, perhaps we're looking at, the Stepford Wives home, with the somewhat fantasy of the purple, below and above. Interesting. And the vivid red, and then, because of the shadows and all, you've got lots of blue and whites turning almost blue. So it's kind of an interesting, eerie little, like, where is this town kind of feel. So it has that sort of fictional quality to it, which is very nice. I think you might ask, do you want to have the things coming in from the left on the tree and dropping down from the top? Do those add to the framing or not add to the framing? You've done a nice job of darkening at the bottom. Overall, a very nice image. It's a 7.
Summer evening.
A really interesting composition. The weather vane is very, very cool there, and provides a nice juxtaposition with the moon that is up there, close to full, with the sun just catching the clouds. And those are the things that I like best about it: the clouds, the color in the clouds, the moon, and the weather vane. And then the trees on the right, I think they maybe don't add that much to the image, and then there's a little bit of pink that kind of hides in the blue to the right that's slightly distracting. So I think those things are all things to think about, that maybe this could even be a sort of a portrait format, and with more of a focus on the weather vane and the moon and the cloud color. Nicely done. It's a 7.
All right, we've got 8 8s. So need your first, second, and third out of there. This is image 1. Image 2. Image 3. Image 4. Image 5. 6. 7. 8.
Yeah, a lot of very good images. Every single one I like quite a bit. I'm going to go for first place. I'm going to go with keep going back. The image of Atlantic City you're coming to. So this is first place. Has a
Okay, first place.
color and tones. Second place. Let me see here. Where were we here? Second place is the image on the far right. It's the reeds with the reflection. This image here, Sentinels in the Reservoir, would be second.
Okay.
And let's see. It's such a, wonderfully, it's nice to see everyone's personality coming out in the images. They're all wonderful takes on this. And so for color in the sky, I'm going to go with something that's a little, not to my taste, but I think it's a nicely composed image. I do like the composition on the one you're on, but if you go back 3 more, there's a super saturated, this one here. It's not my normal taste, but I just like the composition, and I think you've done a wonderful job of trying to bring up and create a very nice composition, compositionally here. So,
So this is third. Okay.
Sure.
And I'll save you from dropping one. So the rest of them will be HMs.
Okay. Thank you.
Matt,
Yes.
did you say you're going to
Keep them.
keep them all? Okay.
Yeah, they're all. Otherwise, I have to take one of them out, I think. So
Yes.
I wouldn't
We'll save you from that.
There were so many good images. You know how it is when we're looking at them, and the distinctions here are small. I do hope that the comments I made were helpful and made sense most of the time. And I'm sure there'll be some you're shaking your heads at both ways. So no worries there. I just hope that you enjoyed the evening. I certainly did. It was wonderful to be able to see such great images from your club. Very nice.
Excellent. We'll review this, and then you have one last task, and that's the best of show.
Great.
Honorable mention, Sunset over the Delaware, Joe Gilchrist. Congratulations, Joe. Hawaiian Sunset, Sue Fielder. Congratulations, Sue. Husafel Rainbow, Debbie Aniano. Congratulations, Debbie. Presque Isle Sunset, Greg DeAngelis. Congratulations, Greg. I had to stop to capture the scene, Harvey Birnbaum. Congratulations, Harvey. Third place, Sunrise over Dingle, Joe Gilchrist. Second place, Sentinels in the Reservoir, Robert Zerflu. Congratulations, Robert.
All right. I'm going to set up the best of show here.
Great.
So give me 1 second.
What's nice is it's nice looking at photographs of sunrises and sunsets, only because they're all beautiful images. You know what I mean? I'd say it's something that I don't know about the rest of you, but when you see a beautiful sunrise or sunset, it's very hard not to raise the camera, whether it's your, your cell phone or big boy or girl camera. it's wonderful to get those photos because they're sometimes the best memories.
Let's see.
Does your group,
All right.
sorry.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, does Cranbury as a club do outings? Do you guys go out together to photograph frequently or once in a while, or?
Currently, it's been once in a while. Ever since COVID, we really haven't gotten back to as much as we used to do, but hopefully we will get back to doing that more.
Yeah, definitely. We all fell out of practice.
For sure. All right. We have the 4 first place images here.
Okay.
We'll show you them all. And we can go back and forth as much as you need, but we need one of them to be the best to show.
Yeah.
So this is image 1 here.
Before sunrise. Okay. Cranes at
This is image 2. This is image 3. And the 4th.
You know, I'm just going to just mention a little bit about each one before I pick one here. You know, this image here, you know, has this, you know, this feel that it's another world a little bit. That's just lovely. You know, captured. Everything's very soft, and yet there's just, you know, just enough definition in the buildings, and it's, you know, very nicely composed with just the same amount of sliver of space on each side with those 2 darker areas, and then, you know, the one building catching the light. It makes it very nice, and it's just nicely handled. And then this one here, there's just something, you know, someone, you know, saw this nice little rhythm of the cranes, you know, that are out there doing their thing. And, you know, it might be a little overexposed and all those things like that, but, you know, it just has a wonderful feel and kind of is a place where you're not quite sure where it is. And again, it has that feel of something special and a little different. It's not an ordinary image. You know, this one, you know, the color is so smooth, a beautiful gradation from the lighter down to the darker, and then again from the dark, you know, to the light to the dark. So there's this nice depth that's being added because of the treatment, you know, that's been done, or the perfection of the light. And those are all some of the nicest parts here, plus that cool little lighthouse in the center. And this is just, you know, this is one of those images that, you know, it's a memory that, you know, could be anyone's memory in many ways. And I think the things, you know, here was sort of the offset of that spit of land at the left, the whatever the branches that the woman is sitting on. I think it's a woman, and, you know, her position with the bird and the sun. I think all those elements really work, you know, very nicely horizontally in the image here. So out of these 4, my best to show is the first image, number 1, the AC at sunrise. I think there's just something different in the treatment. It's a special image. I like it.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we'll review this contest now.
Best to show cranes. Oh, no, this is the first place from Cranes at Sunset from the second group, right?
Yes.
Rich, are you still here?
Want to tell us about it?
Here.
Well, I wish I could say I scouted this spot and framed it and whatnot, but as I recall, I was driving on the extension of the turnpike, and I saw the sun, and I'm like, I got to get this, and I slowed down and took a couple shots out the window.
Excellent. Well, you a good moment to do that, Rich.
I don't recommend it, but it turned out the second image, the raw file got damaged somehow and over the years. So I had to go on the first one, which to process it. Well, I think I like the second one better as far as the JPEG I have, but you just got to do it when you see it.
Very nice.
Pastel light, Matt Rink. Oh, he has a mic.
I have a mic, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about
So one of the meetings, Robert's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go take a picture of this lighthouse at 4 in the morning. We're leaving," and so I decided to go with him. And we were supposed to take pictures of the sun coming up, and I got this before the sun came up, and my picture of the sun sucked. So I went back to this lighthouse several times after, but this was one of the first images I got of it.
Do you train the birds to create that beautiful triangle?
Those are post-processed birds.
Okay.
So they're very well trained.
Very well placed. Very nice.
And sunset at Sandy Hook, Karen Zoller. Karen, are you still here?
Karen had to leave early, unfortunately. But congratulations, Karen. You'll have to tell us about it next.
Yeah, nice, Karen. And the best of show. AC before sunrise, Lynn Padway. And Lynn is in Alaska, so she's not going to be able to tell us about this.
Yeah, she's in Alaska, but I can imagine that she took this from Forsyth. I would have to say, because she loves that place.
Right.
And it looks like a view from Forsyth.
We may
Yeah,
not be able
kind of thing most bird photographers wouldn't turn around to look at, perhaps, you're photographing focused on the birds.
Yes. Yeah.
we may not be able to give her her ribbon for this because she may have been eaten by a bear.
Well, that's true. Yeah. We'll have to get a report back if she wasn't eaten before we can fill out the ribbon for her. All right. Well, this concludes our competition. I want to thank everybody that came in person to check out our new audiovisual setup here. If you have any questions about it or suggestions or anything, we are the first users of it for the library. So any feedback, email me, let me know. And people on Zoom as well, if you have any feedback of how well it was or wasn't, let us know.
Yeah, it would
Thank
be
you.
interesting to know how the sound worked
Yes, for
on
sure.
Zoom.
It's
For
excellent.
sure.
Both of you speaking, I guess you have two different microphones, plus when you shared it with Rich to speak, everything was great. It's very clear, crisp, no problem at all. When you don't have the microphone, it's like you're underwater because it's just background noise, But with the microphone, it was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have a wireless microphone system. They've got 4 mics for us. We're using 2 of them currently, but it's very nice. Very nice system.
Yeah, excellent.
It sounded
Right.
great. Really sounded good.
Good to know, Debbie. Thank you.
All right. Well, great. Well, enjoy. Have a great
Thank you.
summer. Hopefully we'll continue our stretch of good weather.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Take care.
Take
Bye
care. Bye-bye.